Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. You know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. See on stage. On-chain revolution. Guns. Boom. On-chain. Hey, on-chain revolution. Bitcoin not an illusion. Market recaps and I do a roll call. You're not bullish in the vocal. Look at the price action. Yeah, send it to the deck. Sell it through the stack. Ordinal's the best. Too much Bitcoin, gotta go to review. And the bearish gotta put the knee pad. Let me see the comments. Look at the fear and greed index. Bridge. Look at the chart.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto ecosystem. What's up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live on the On-Chain Hour, and we have Bitcoin sitting at 121,655, down about 1.3% on the day. Ethereum, which we know is kind of the leader in the space, sitting at around about 3.7% down today, around $4,358. So what can we expect for the rest of the week? What can we expect for the rest of the day? I think that today's going to be probably on the red side, while we might start picking up going into Sunday. Sunday leads into Monday. We do know it feels like a nice reset. Sunday around 8 p.m. Eastern time, we get the weekly close, and that always usually is that reset for the week. So it's one of those things where I'm looking at to kind of feel better about this. Looking around the space, it's hard right now. It's hard right now for a lot of builders. It's hard right now for a lot of users. I see a lot of people saying, hey, I'm not quitting. I'm just taking some time off and just kind of trying to reset my mind. And that not only happens in bearish times, right? This is something that happened in 2019. This is something that happened in 2022. Why are we feeling like that in 2025 when Bitcoin's above 120? Well, it's just because it really feels like it's not risk on, and that really comes to quantitative easing. We're not easing yet. The government has still not yet printed money, and we're actually going into the market and selling bonds still. So they're actually taking liquidity out of the market still. So we just got to be patient. We got to wait. We got to wait for quantitative easing. We got to wait for lower rate cuts. We got to wait for times to get better. I'll listen to the stock market today. Nvidia, another all-time high. AMD, another all-time high. So on and so on. And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy that they're going through such a bull run right now, and we're just not. But we did experience one in Binance, BNB, over the last couple of days, but that has stopped as well. Tokens down 80-90% from its all-time highs. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that much more. And then 11:30 today, we're lucky enough to have the great Benny Options, Scott himself, one of the top guys over at Radfi, joining the show. We're going to be talking about Nodester and everything that happened over the last 12 hours. Crazy 12 hours for Nodester. We're going to talk about that. And pizza's dropping potentially the next day or so. So looking forward to that. But guys, we got it all for you on this show. So stay tuned and let's get this show started. Bring my partner here as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up,
man? How's everything with you? How you feeling about the market right now?
Market is a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. It's just throwing. I think it's throwing a lot of people off right now. And it's weird from multiple angles. right? So the weird part from, I guess, not super weird from the Bitcoin Ethereum side of things. We had that really strong rise up, and I think that's probably the first leg of kind of just getting bullish right in October. And so going sideways is okay for a few days for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I think what's the weird part is, you know, not feeling the strength of kind of some of these alts, right, in the alt market, right? Yeah, I know that like some of these tokens have ran to 200, 300 million on BNB, stealing some of this liquidity and spotlight. But a lot of people are saying, you know, it feels manufactured, artificial. And I've been over there myself, and it does. It definitely does. Not that Solana doesn't have that. Solana definitely, you know, creates their own success at times as well. But with that being said, because it's not even sustaining really on the BNB side, you're seeing them get really hit too, in terms of that ecosystem. It's just a weird feeling, right? We want to see some sustainability, and the first thing we got to see is some kickoff, right? And so we thought we were seeing some kickoff here, but no sustainability with kickoff is really weird to get things going. I'm going to kind of chalk it up to say, okay, this is just a little bit of waiting on Bitcoin and Ethereum still to really take that, you know, hyper aggressive push to the upside, a clear all-time high, not just barely passing it, giving confidence to the markets, right? And so that's where I am with it. It does feel a bit weird, but we are only 9 days into October. Let's see how the rest of this month plays out.
Yeah. You know, are we waiting for Bitcoin or Ethereum? Or are we waiting for the DXY to break down? Right. That's kind of what I'm kind of looking at. Right. So this is kind of something that I've been watching for a long time, and I just wanted to show you guys why. I mean, I talk about it a lot, but you know, the U.S. dollar index is something that we need to drop below 96. 90. So what the U.S. dollar index is it's a basket of goods that represent the dollar. They take it's a bunch of different stuff that, you know, bonds and stuff like that that represents the dollar, and that kind of showcases a number, whether that's 96 or 99, where it is right now. But we need it to drop below. So this is 2017 and 2018, right? If you see all this, this is the crypto bull run, right? This is when the crypto bull run started. This is kind of when it ended, right around here. Same thing here. Go back to 2020, 21. It really started June of 2020 is when we broke below. And, you know, obviously, you know, 2021 was awesome. And then boom, as soon as it got above back here, it was over. It was over. Once the dollar got back over this $96 mark, it was over. So this is what we're waiting for, right? And this is kind of where we're at right now. We're actually going back up again. It could be a higher high or a higher low on this chart here if you take that, but we need this to kind of drop below here. We need this to kind of happen because this could be the bull run that we need to see. And you know, if that's the case, we might not see it until, you know, December. So I think we just got to be more patient, right? Definitely have to be more patient, but I think, you know, quantitative easing and, you know, interest rates could actually push this below that number and kind of take us into that bull run.
Yeah, you did see some sideways before, kind of going down below it before, because it's almost like there was a fake out wick too, before that. If you look at the wick before, right? No, before
Down
the,
here,
the other
yeah.
the other direction. If you go, yeah, exactly, right there. And then there was like a fake out, and then it rises up until you get that clean cut below on that next attempt there.
Well, you know
But
what this was? It's COVID crash.
yeah. Hmm.
So you seen that's kind of what that it was, a fake out COVID crash, and obviously they got bought back up. They started doing the they turned the interest rates to zero, right? That was, and then it just kind of flew up, and then obviously drastically came down over the next year and a half, which we saw a huge bull run though. This was the bull run, and this is February 2021. This is, you know, December 2021, right? So this was the bull run itself. So. But yeah, I just don't see a bull run until we get below here. Can you see anything happening unless we get below here too? I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the last two historical trends, when we were in the risk on environment is whenever the DXY was below that. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think that's the expectation. But you know, I've been thinking a lot about this, you know, about how people that have prepared for previous cycles, you know, for this moment, right? It's unfortunate because this one, unlike last year, even though last year was thrown off, Last year was even better. If you had prepared from 2017 to 2021 and 2020, I think you would have been set. You would have been set because, you know, you were preparing for, you know, something that was a milder, I'll say kind of a milder experience in a shorter period of time in 2017, 18. But like 2020, 2021, you've been fine. You had kind of studied for the test. You got ready. I think if you came in 2021 into DeFi and you really dedicated time to it, and then you studied and prepared for this cycle, I think you've probably struggled a lot. And a lot of people have said that on the timeline, right? It's because like things aren't kind of happening per what their expectations were from what they learned from the previous cycle. And I think a lot of that has to do with institutions coming in. I think a lot of it has to do with this new administration and also trying to make it a better in industry and environment for regulations and that type of thing. But so whenever you show me that, like the historical trend, I want to say yes, that's what we're waiting for. But is there going to be something that has to do with this that's going to be different, right?
Well,
Because
that's the thing, though, is like this hasn't started yet. That's the main point I'm bringing this up. We're all sitting here saying we should be in a bull run, but we haven't even had our first indicator. Like I said before, this happened in June of 2020. 6 months later is when Bitcoin hit its previous all-time high, right? So
yeah,
we're sitting here and we're saying we should be in a bull run when the DXY is telling us we're not there yet.
well, Bitcoin has hit multiple all-time highs though without that happening, right? Now, being hyper aggressive, right, is a different story. Being hyper aggressive meaning clearing the all-time high by 50K or whatever like that, right? In this like what's supposed to be a hyper aggressive last quarter of a bull run year. I think that's what maybe you're correlating this with. And okay, so you made a good point.
ETH
You
has
said
not, right? So
yeah,
Bitcoin has
yeah,
become. I think we both agree Bitcoin's become something different since the ETF, right?
sure.
It's ETH right now is our leading indicator for the crypto bull run. ETH has not. Well, it hit its all-time high barely, and
Yeah.
then came crashing back down. So, it's one of those things where it's almost like teasing us, right? This was ETH's all-time high, like
Yeah.
September, like you know what I mean? It was like it was right there, and then obviously it came back up.
But you made a statement that I think that the audience probably is probably confused about as well. Not your statement, but like what's happening, and it's we haven't even hit this yet. Like this indicator, like with the DXY going below this level, hasn't even happened, so we haven't even started. But everybody's mindset that had experience, so I can kind of go back to what I was saying earlier, had the experience, what they learned from last cycle, feels like that. That's why you're hearing it on the timeline, and like there's almost this trying to force this bull run earlier than waiting for the DXY to go under and all these things. And that's why I think a lot of people are getting wrecked. Look, I've experienced some of that too, and it's because they're in their mind they have this timeline that they learned from the previous cycle about, right? And so it's almost kind of like they're searching so hard for these opportunities. And I think some of these builders realize that, so they'll just prop something up that sounds attractive and great and stuff, and it looks good, but then they're getting wrecked because it's not time, right? The liquidity isn't actually free flowing like it was in 2021. It's those builders and the top people, the top traders that might be associated with the builders or whatever that could look like, they're taking profit. They're dumping on you. They're dumping on the people that are looking constantly for opportunities that said, hey, look, it's time. This is we're past due time. So going back to your statement, we're not technically, if you look at the technicals, we're not technically, if you look at the DXY, ready yet. We haven't entered that area of extreme bullishness yet.
100%. And like to your point here, you saw this one as fake out one, fake out two, and fake out one, fake out two, right? Third time was the charm. Third time we broke through, and we never came back for an entire year. This is June 2020. This is February 2022. Right. This was when Hex hit 50 cents. Right. This is when the craziness was happening. Right. This is like the back end of the bull run. This is when DeFi kind of came back for its last hurrah before everything went to zero. But yeah, I mean, so I just think we gotta mentally take out timelines. Take out, okay, it's been 4 years, or this is the year after having, and really start paying attention to the DXY, because the DXY tells a different story.
Yeah, it does. But I will say that the one thing that kind of worries me a little bit is that you are seeing, you know, a lot of the established stocks, and you're seeing like the indexes that on in TradFi thriving, and you're also seeing like asset classes, like tangible asset classes thriving right now. So you have gold, you have you know, the precious metals, you have the collectibles market, you have these type of markets that are crushing it right now. Even in the collectibles market, the risk on area is actually doing decent. It's doing pretty decent. So it worries me because I remember these, like, and this could be a skewed perspective, and I think it is, part of it is because in 2020 and 2021 they all kind of ran together, or ran very close together, but that was in a different environment to where they were injecting liquidity constantly. You could even see like the dollar got shot up right whenever COVID had started, because they wanted to kind of have this safety structure of the economies, the global economies, by the way. So you know, our industry kind of not running as aggressive as some of these, you know, other industries does worry me a little bit, but maybe it's just like in a rotation. There's not as much liquidity, so the rotation just hasn't fully happened over here yet. I know that we haven't gone in full blown, you know, risk on with quantitative easing and all that stuff yet. So maybe that we're going to be the last industry to benefit, which I'm okay with if that's the case. That's one thing I'm paying attention to.
Think about all the assets that, you know, are the opposite of the dollar, right? Gold, silver, all-time high today, Bitcoin, right? These are all assets you get into when you're afraid the dollar's going to drop. And that's kind of what's happening right now. People are getting to everyone's kind of flying to safety because the dollar is no longer, you know, the dollar is kind of holding the dollar is risk on right now, right? In a sense of what everyone is going to cards. Why would you get into cards right now? Well, if you think the dollar is going to drop below this line, getting into, you know, a Jordan rookie card or a Mickey Mantle, you know that it's going to go up against the dollar because the dollar is going to devalue itself. So a lot of these people are like, hey, I've seen this before. Let me start getting into the stuff that's going to go up against the dollar, right? Bitcoin, gold, silver, you know, baseball cards, football cards, like Pokemon cards, right? Because the dollar is going to dip, right? The dollar dips in value. You know, everything's going to get a lot more expensive because, you know, it's like the dollar is getting less value until it has no value.
And I think it's easier for the public to understand those assets because they're pretty straightforward, right? So you got to remember too, public perception, we're still taking some hits from the public perception, the retail sectors from 2022, the FTX collapse, all that stuff. So, you know, that's why I think when the institutions are coming in, they're obviously investing in the stuff that they feel very confident that's solid in our industry. You got the Bitcoin, you got the Ethereum, you got those blue chips. And then maybe some of these ones that are popping up, they can have their teams do extensive research on, like the hyperliquid stuff like that. But like retail probably is like, no, I'm like, I don't know what to get into that, and I can't afford Bitcoin, and so I'm gonna stick to what I know or what's easy to understand. For me, that's gold. For me, that's like cards and stuff like that. So you know, that could be part of it. You know, because that I did think about that. I think it was this morning or maybe yesterday. You know, retail could be just terrified of coming into our, because the stuff that people are going into, they want to go into, they want to feel safe about it. Even though, yes, it's all going up against the dollar, they still want to feel safe and not lose against.
Well, that's the thing. We're not risk on now. We're not risky because, like, if I said it, if you know, if I'm just telling you that holding the dollar is risky, and they're getting into stuff that goes up against the dollar, we're not on risk on. Like, we're sitting here talking about the most riskiest assets in the world. That's why people aren't purchasing them. That's why people aren't getting into Dog, right, which is a meme coin on Bitcoin. That's why people aren't getting into Sui, which is a new blockchain. It's because we're not in risk on yet. People are seeing the dollar as being risky. So that's even further from where we need to be, right? So it's one of those things, and that's why Bitcoin's at all-time high, because people see it as a safe haven. So all the safe havens for the dollar is people are going risk off. Gold is a risk off move, right? Silver is risk off.
Yeah.
So
I almost wonder if the institutions didn't come in and there wasn't an ETF and stuff like that, we could possibly be getting demolished from Bitcoin down.
oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you know, at that point, they don't want to get in. Bitcoin would be still considered risky, is what I'm saying, but because of the ETF and institutions, that they're okay to go into that, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a very interesting kind of moment, I think, in history too, to see what's going to happen here. I'm still in the bullish camp of for this Q4. Let's see what happens, what that looks like, right? Does it look like, Bitcoin continually goes up, Ethereum continually goes up, or and that's it, just those two, and then some of the blue chips, or do we get more into some riskier environment, and then some of the other areas can thrive? But it's just throwing me off a little bit. But with Bitcoin kind of retracing and then having a little bit trouble and the BNB situation. But again, only 9 days in. Let's see what happens. We know that we're getting another cut here in another 9 days or something like that. 8 days. Yeah. Oh, is it 21? Okay, at the end of the month. Okay, yeah. So, but this is whenever things should continually rise up. But we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we do have Colin Talks Crypto. So this is a chart that he made about a while back now in September. And it actually played out almost perfect to what he was saying here, because obviously then this is September 25th. This is the last candle, and we're up here. So, and this is today is the 9th, so we're right here, and we're exactly where he predicted. We're exactly where he predicted, 120, right around here. So, and he's also predicting, if he stays correct here, by the 16th, we'll be, potentially dipping again. So he's kind of predicting us to roll back to 120, which we did, and then drop down to almost to the 16th before the next move up. So this has already come into fruition. I mean, we've already went up to 126, came back down, but he is calling for by the end of the month to be up at 140, 150. Is this something, and you see this still playing out? I mean, he's been pretty much on right now from this chart.
Yeah, it looks like the inverted head and shoulders is playing out, right? So that seems to be what the situation is, right? At least on that 8-hour chart that he's looking at. But yeah, I could see that, a little bit of a delay in terms of Bitcoin getting hyper aggressive, but maybe during that period it would be whenever dominance really picks up, and we kind of let dominance happen, and then after it hits that, and at the end of this month in early November, maybe that's whenever alts start to pick up, but we'll see.
Yeah, again, I just think we gotta wait for DXY. I think we gotta wait for DXY to hit 96 for alts pick up. I mean, it might be December, January, but we'll see.
Possible.
Stan, my guy, with a $10 super chat. Let's go. Yo. Appreciate you, my friend. He said, in the channel's opinion, is the crypto community less or more fearful of dips compared to TradFi? Whales have more of a chunk of crypto than ever, so it's easier for them to crash the market. Thanks. All right, so let's dig in this. The first part of this is the crypto community is less or more fearful. So crypto community is more on the risk curve. So what happens is when TradFi is down 1%, crypto is down 9%, right? When Bitcoin, is down, 4%, everything else is down 9%. Like, it's just one of those things where Bitcoin has become a TradFi asset. So it's one of I don't know. To me, do you get the question? Well,
yeah. So I think he's asking if our space is getting affected more whenever the volatility hits, compared to their space. So I say yes, and the reason why is because I think TradFi, that first of all, that industry has been around forever, and so the people that are winning over there, they know what to stick to during the most difficult times, right? They've been through the 2008 2009 crash. They've been through all these things. Our industry is relatively new, right? We know that, compared to them, we're like an infant, and so I think whenever we see their industry kind of showing stability, and gold showing, that it's thriving, and these other industries showing that it's thriving, and we're seeing this volatility, even though Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a couple of these others, like, we have less that's stable than what everybody else seems to have right now. And so compare that with a cycle that is not very forecast friendly, in my opinion. I feel like the digital asset industry is definitely a bit more fearful and disappointed kind of sometimes, right? So you can feel that. But what changes that is going into a risk on environment. I do believe that. And so I know that was a very long winded answer, but that's how I view it. And, you know, I think that we do take things a bit more, I wouldn't say emotional, because I don't think that's a correct word here. I think we take things more, I don't know how else to say it. I guess maybe emotional is good word for that, but we just don't handle the volatility as well.
Yeah, and just to add to that too is like we're trying to force risk on when we're in risk off. Like when seeing silver hit an all-time high today and Bitcoin hitting an all-time high the other day, but nothing else really doing that, it just shows you that we're in risk off right now. Like the market is saying risk off. Nvidia has become a risk off buy, right? AMD's become a risk off buy. All these once risky tech companies have become risk off because people are
Bitcoin
so
too.
afraid of the dollar. Yeah, exactly. Bitcoin is now a risk off a factor now, and because everyone's so afraid of the dollar. And that's one thing that we've never seen before. We never seen Bitcoin as a risk off thing, but we're seeing
Exactly.
that Ethereum's still risk on, right? Ethereum is
So
still risk on. That's why Ethereum is not striving.
that's the biggest point that I think you made in that whole thing, was that our space always considered Bitcoin still in the risk on category. And so we kind of thrive together, right? And then we die together. And so for us to see Bitcoin thriving at different moments, but we aren't really, in terms of like the alt market, when I say that, right? At the same time, that's what's throwing a lot of this off in terms of how people are playing the cycle. But we're going to learn from that. So one thing that you said is that, Bitcoin is in a different category, and it absolutely is. I think the digital asset industry is going to look to Bitcoin for risk off kind of, forecasting. You know what I mean? Or risk on, sorry, risk off. So does it still correlate to the rest of the market? Yes, but in a different way, just as kind of like the leader. So you can kind of compare Bitcoin to being like the safest assets in TradFi, and then the alt market being less and less and less safe as you go down that risk curve, but it definitely, there's a different relationship now between Bitcoin, even Ethereum, and Ethereum's kind of like halfway now. So Ethereum's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right? So that's where a lot of this forecasting and speculation has just gone to crap, because this has been the hardest cycle to do that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think right now we have to wait for Ethereum. I think we have to stop looking at Bitcoin to kind of seeing where crypto's headed and start looking at Ethereum, because Ethereum did hit it all-time high, and then it came crashing back down right there. Now it's in the lows 43. And I think, Ethereum needs to go first. Ethereum needs to double its all-time high before we see a real alt season. Very similar to when Bitcoin hit 40,000, doubling its previous all-time high, right? And that's when we've seen Ethereum start moving, right? So Ethereum has become Bitcoin, right? Ethereum has become the new Bitcoin in the sense of as the leading indicator for our space.
Agreed.
All right. Scott should be coming in soon, but we can get to this topic. So yesterday we talked about BNB memes, right? And so let's kind of show what happened. Shout out to Gordon, altcoin Gordon here. But these are some of the charts of the meme coins. This is this Chinese one. It got up pretty much to 30 million and then crashed down to 500K. And then this one, same thing. It got up pretty high, crashed down. Another one. So are we in the camp now to saying that BNB season is over? or is this normal as they moved on? I'm not seeing any new runners today. But a lot of people did get wrecked who went over yesterday. You can't chase the hype. In this market. Later on, you can probably chase hype because you have like another 2 weeks after it kind of starts, right? But this market, it seems like you got 3 days. If you miss the first day, you're screwed.
Yeah. I played around over there a little bit yesterday, and there's not much of a difference between Solana and BNB, to be honest. Yes, a couple of, and I think it was more of last week, the people that got in earlier, they did get into and made out like bandits. And you're also dealing with a different level of technology and speed when you're dealing with MetaMask and BNB versus Solana. And obviously Solana, even with the Phantom wallet, I feel like is quicker, but you have the tools like Axiom and you have the tools like Photon. Is that good or bad? Obviously, bot trading has kind of killed a lot of community sustainability over there in Solana, but like at least you can get out of a trade. There's issues. Sometimes you can't get out of a trade on BNB, but the launchpad is the same kind of experience, right? So there's just a complete oversaturation of tokens being launched, and 90 to 93% of those are going to zero very quickly. And it was because it was so much hype yesterday. There was a lot that would actually get to like the low six figures, maybe even mid six figures, and then about 6 hours later just go to zero too. So definitely got to be careful if you're not early there, and you're probably late, right? You're going to be the one holding the bag and all that stuff. And so, but it was pretty funny because there's this like X war between all the Solana people. You had Jakey and you had all those people from the Solana ecosystem. To me, it looked like whining, right? Because they weren't able to make their money that they're used to making. And then Asia was able to do it, right? And so the KOLs in Asia were the ones that were doing it. So it was a bit of switch of who was getting richer, and they didn't like that they weren't able to make the money that they always make. So at the end of the day, very similar experience, I would say, on both, except for the tech side. It is a bit clunkier on BNB than Solana.
So you're saying the Solana KOLs got KOL'd?
It was fun. A couple of them came over and got wrecked, like big time, right? So.
All right. That was fun to talk about. Yeah, it was crazy yesterday though, going over a lot of them, and then 12 hours later it's just complete disaster. But that's meme coin, guys. That's the game that you're playing with, especially when you're a couple days late on some of them. But let's get into our next thing here. So it's kind of a leading topic today. This platform will change Bitcoin trading forever. Liquidity incoming for 100x. I think this is going to be where you find the next 100x. If you don't know what I'm talking about Radfi. Radfi has been all the talk of the last week in the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's been one of the hottest areas over the last couple hours. It even had some problems. We're going to get into a lot of that. Can't wait to talk to Scott. So without further ado, let's talk to the CEO from Radfi. Scott, welcome back to OnChain Evolution. Thanks so much for being here, sir.
What's up, bro? Thanks for having me. As always. Good to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you, man. Obviously, probably, I don't know how many minutes of sleep you got last night, but Radfi has had some success here, a good amount of success, I would say, lately. And some of that has to do with the strategy meta that's been blown up here. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you and your team have consistently been trying to build the solution on Bitcoin layer 1. And I love the fact that you guys came up with the multi-sig approach, definitely different tech in terms of how it's handled. But before we get into the event yesterday of the launch for Node Strategy, how has this journey been for you, like from start to where we are today?
Yeah, great place to start, man, because honestly, like I'm just like from where we started 2 months ago. I think we launched very end of July, so been in operations like just over 2 months, and it's just been a absolutely incredible. It's just been night and day. The performance of the platform, like the issues that we've had on the platform. Every time we have a stress test, we get new data points, right? Like we're the first people that are kind of going through this, and it takes research and development to get it right. And every single time we have one of these situations, though, we come out of it stronger and better and more stable. So I'm very happy with how things went last night. We had 100% uptime, and the journey to get here was definitely exciting.
Yeah, 100%. So for anyone who doesn't know, anyone who can you kind of explain how you guys are on L1 and the multi-sig technology that you guys are have everything going?
Sure. Yeah. So the first thing that you have to do when you before using Radfi is deposit into what we call the Radfi trading wallet. And typical deposit flows when you're using BTC has been into some sort of wrapper. So a lot of people are used to that, and they expect like, oh, I'm bridging somewhere else when I make this deposit. But with us, you're not doing that. What you're doing is creating a hash time lock contract. It's called an HTLC with Radfi. And we have a shared signature on that wallet. So it's a 2 of 2 multi-sig wallet that you're depositing into. And that allows us to prevent you from RBFing a trade or canceling a trade. So that allows us to update pricing and quotes faster at the time of signing, at the time of agreeing to the trade, rather than needing to wait for it to be mined in a block.
Yeah, look, I love that approach because you do keep, everything on L1, and it's very creative because obviously we don't have smart contracts on Bitcoin Layer 1, but you do, give that trust, factor to the user, the fact that, hey, look, we can't do anything without you,
Exactly. Yeah.
And so,
still essentially your keys, your coins, right? And our signature expires. It's defaulted to every 3 months. So it's not like we can like keep your funds indefinitely. If like we were to like disappear or, refuse to sign for some reason, you just stop spending that UTXO, stop trading, and eventually it would be available for you to withdraw without our permission.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so obviously still working on Bitcoin Layer 1, you personally, like the limitations are there. There's certain limitations that you just cannot, get rid of, right? So I'm curious, the way that you guys have been able to do this is going pretty far in having this DeFi experience.
Yeah.
Are you guys open-minded to using a scaling solution like Lightning to make the experience even, I guess, better, like even, optimizing it even further, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, I would say right now, like, we want to continue pushing the envelope of what can be done on L1 until I feel that we've hit like an absolute brick wall. Like the number one issue that people were, complaint that people were voicing in the chat and kind of just the feedback that we've gotten so far has been the constraint of the number of trades that can be done in a given block. And, I know that we have like a permanent solution in mind for that. It's not something that we're going to be able to do in like, a matter of days or even weeks for the permanent solution. But the fact that I know it's there, like it's not a brick wall, right? Like there is a speed bump here and I want to get past that. And I want to make it so there's no limit on the number of trades we can process in a block. We have a solution in mind for that. I'm not going to dig into details on that.
Yeah.
Gets a little technical and such, but the fact that we have a solution in mind, like I need to get to that next step and see the market reaction before I even would consider pivoting elsewhere or changing, what we're working on.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense too. And really quick, I feel like that's a great approach because that's how you got to this point, right? Like is constantly like pushing the envelope. And I think you hired the right dev leads and team because they're the ones that kind of came up with the multi-sig approach. And I'm sure that they are brainstorming constantly with this. Yeah. So, I can appreciate that and respect that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. I mean, our engineers, like, definitely, it's not just like, us, fall in line and follow orders. Like these guys have come up with a lot of creative solutions. And yeah, like I said before, like until we hit like an absolute brick wall where everyone is complaining about something and saying this doesn't work, I hate this, and we have no solution to it, if we never get to, until we get to that point, like, one foot in front of the other. And, I'm excited about the future of what we're working on. Like certainly, viewing this as, just another opportunity to learn and improve the protocol.
Yeah, man. And there is a lot of people that are excited about this as well. I mean, there's a reason why the Notester guys, right, reached out to Radfi, right? They didn't go somewhere else. They went to you guys. Could you talk about that experience a little bit? Like, what was it like? Can you talk about maybe the conversation, how it all got started? For anyone who doesn't know, something called Punkster was something on ETH, and that dropped about a month ago, and it ran to $280 million. It was a strategy where they basically come in and they buy punks, and that was replicated by someone Raktoshi gave the nod to, a group of people that Raktoshi gave the nod to go ahead and do this. But they contacted you, and can you maybe go into that conversation a little bit, and then kind of get into maybe what Nostr is?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so, one of the team members reached out to me with the idea. This was, I don't know, like a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't even really that long ago when we first, he first started ideating on it. And there was a couple of things missing from Radfi to make their plan possible. So, I think that's part of why they reached out, was to be like, hey, like, can you guys work on this stuff? We kind of want to deploy this project. We want to work with you guys. Is this something you'd be willing to support? So we spoke internally, and I'm really happy that we made the decision to move forward and pivot some dev resources into focusing on like these specific areas that needed refinement. It was like the 10% fee tier, being able to lock withdrawals, like to keep trading like all on the platform, to be able to change the fee, the fee distribution breakdown. So there's a number of things that we had to work on in preparation of this. So, it took our dev, took some of our resources to set things up for them. And then from there, it's just been a pleasure working with the guys, very professional guys, very communicative, and just been in touch, going back and forth, working together and collaborating. It's been great.
Yeah, and the whole strategy meta really started to pick up, and I feel like this is stuff that's been planned like months ago, because I remember seeing a post from Raktoshi talking about a perpetual kind of mechanism that could buy up the floors and all this stuff. But TokenWorks is the company that's doing it on Ethereum, right? Yep. They've done multiple collections that they've launched within their platform. I'm curious if Radfi is considering kind of being that TokenWorks for the ordinals industry. Obviously, you guys are more of a service provider for Node Monks, and I know Pizza has collaborated with you guys at Pizza Ninjas. But what about like maybe some of these other collections, or will you guys always try to just be a service provider for other collections? And if that's the case, is there a process for a collection community lead to reach out to you guys and go through this 10% kind of mechanism setup?
Yeah. So just to address your first question, we're not planning to be like the TokenWorks of Bitcoin. We do want to stay focused on being like the infrastructure provider for trading, and launching tokens, right? So we want to be able that there are features that we're trying to push out as quickly as possible. Obviously, so there's features we're trying to put out as quickly as possible that would make it easier to launch your own strategy using Radfi, but we're not going to be like running the strategy or like tweeting like, hey, this is like, our strategy for puppets, or our strategy for Node Monks, or our strategy for Taproot Wizards. Like, we just want to be the trading and launchpad, stick to our core competencies. Obviously, like from what you've seen, it's hard enough to get those two things right, let alone trying to lead, a fourth project, because we still have BUSD as well, which is, something that thankfully doesn't take much development resources, but yeah, gonna stick to our bread and butter, which is still very, much a big undertaking for us.
Gotcha. 100%. So last couple of days were pretty crazy for Nodester, and everything. So they did an airdrop, but they messed it up. So for anyone who doesn't know, could you kind of just explain what happened, maybe from the back end perspective of that?
Well, I'm not on the Nodester team. I did get the message, hey, like the airdrop didn't go out well, so I could, that was obviously, I felt for those guys. I've been on the other side of that before, where you mess something up in the final hour like that, and it's definitely, I'm sure it didn't feel good, but ultimately, thankfully, it wasn't like a huge issue, right? Like you could just etch a new rune, they withdrew the liquidity, and we ran back the same playbook, 2 days later. So, glad it kind of all worked out smoothly. But yeah, obviously, not a good feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just wanted to see if there was anything from the back end side of that how that went down, but it
Yeah,
happened,
we were like
and
communicating back and forth, and we were like, geared up to launch, and then it was just like, shit.
we got to delay this a couple of days. All right, so let's take us to last night. So I think it started at like 11 p.m. Eastern, and they said, hey guys, we're gonna do this between 11 and 1, and I
Right.
was like, damn, I'm just gonna go to bed. Like that's past my bedtime. They like to do things in the middle of the night. But could you kind of go into last night and maybe run us through the scenarios of how everything happened?
Sure. Yeah. So, we walked through the same playbook we did a couple of nights ago. So we had like the process like very much outlined. So it was like fairly streamlined of like, the order of operations. Everything went very smoothly. The guys were great to work with. And then, when it came down to launch time, it was just a matter of us, enabling trading once like kind of everything was set up. I think in hindsight, maybe we would have been better off like just enabling it and then tweeting that it's live rather than giving that like preemptive. So that way, people wouldn't be like logging on and refreshing constantly, like right all at the same time and trying to swap all at the same time. So that was, I would say a little bit of a learning that we would recommend for future people launching on our platform. And then, things started off real smooth. We have like two key issues that users run into, right? Like, so on Bitcoin layer 1, there you can't have slippage, right? Like you can't say, I want to trade for this token and I want at least this many tokens. Like that's just not instructions that can be handled in a Bitcoin transaction. What you can say is I want to trade this much Bitcoin in exchange for this many runes, period. Whether it's up, down, left, or right, like it has to be exactly that amount. Can't be more, can't be less. So no slippage either in any direction is possible directly on Bitcoin layer 1. But we made a considerable, like we saw that was an issue for people when we had the first amount of hype, and we implemented something called price shift tolerance, which I think we might need to change the name a little bit because people just assumed that it was slippage, which led to confusion. They're like, what the fuck? I set it to 100%. Like, why isn't it working? It's not about that, right? Price shift tolerance is something that will auto prompt you to re-sign the new quote as long as it's within your price shift tolerance. So even if it moves just by 1% and your PST is 100%, you're still going to have to re-sign, right? Because still the quote still changed, right? So that was one thing that people needed some getting used to, and was a complaint. That is something that we can't change. So that would be like one of those brick walls, like the lack of possible slippage. However, like I do think price shift tolerance really improves the UX a lot. And people like that wasn't like the bit, like we started off and people were facing that issue, but they were getting trades through and that was tolerable, right? Like in our Discord and other people's Discords, that was tolerable. So I don't view that as the market telling me like, you can't operate an AMM without slippage. I don't think we've hit like a brick wall in terms of user experience there. I think it can still be potentially improved, but we will not be able to add slippage. So I do just want to pause there.
Yeah. One question about that. So I can see now a little bit on people that that came over and not used to using your platform from maybe like EVM and stuff. Tell me if I'm right with this. So if it's really busy and people are being competitive with what they're trying to do, then you're going to have to constantly like look and pay attention because you're going to have to constantly re-sign as those the prices adjust. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if you request something and then you go to sign it, pretty much somebody else has the opportunity to sign it before you.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how it works. So like,
and then another one will pop up, and then so that's where they were getting confused. They're like, I'm getting all these quotes that are popping up. Well, you gotta get really quick with your trigger finger because
exactly. You just gotta.
Let me ask this: if you do get it in on time, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Okay.
Then the swap process. Okay. You're good in most scenarios, right? Except the second one, which I think kind of led to, it's created this bottleneck that then made the price shift tolerance worse, right? So the second piece is rules about standard Bitcoin transactions. You cannot have 25 parents to a child UTXO or more than that. Sorry. So parent child means like I spent this UTXO, and then somebody is spending that UTXO's output and the next output and the next one, and you can do that up to 25 times per UTXO per block. Okay, not sure if you followed that.
Yeah, well, is that so? I know this might not even be related, but if they lift the op return data limitations,
related, unfortunately.
okay.
And I actually, this is not like it's still possible. Like one thing we could do, which we've thought about, I think it would be like a little bit too much of like a business development effort at this point. But like, they're non-standard transactions, but they're compliant with Bitcoin technology. Like you can string thousands if you wanted to, but miners just kind of ignore those, right? Like it's a non-standard transaction. So you would need to work with a mining pool that would take very long strings and try and mine them into a block. Like non-standard transactions, they do get included sometimes, right? Like sub 1 sat per VB, for example, is something that was non-standard, I believe. Could be wrong on that actually. But nonetheless, that hitting that blocker, that 25 per UTXO per block, and having like a long Bitcoin block, it starts to kind of pile up, and everyone's kind of like trying to jam in trades, and then they have to wait, and then the block clears, and then they try and jam in trades again, and then they're getting price shift tolerance. So like those two mechanisms running into each other, I think create a fairly large bottleneck we've seen. But that, however, is solvable, thankfully. Like that is completely solvable. It's going to take some time, but that is completely solvable. So assuming that Radfi is able to have an unlimited number of transactions per block, like that's the way I'm thinking, then we can considerably improve the user experience with that.
Yeah, so this is the problem, right? Bitcoin.
So it's just trial and error, right? And once we implement something like that, I would expect a competitor or the next person in Bitcoin DeFi to implement something similar, right? Because this is everyone is kind of seeing what problems you run into as apps try and scale, and so we run into problems, we identify solutions, we implement them, and we keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're building on Bitcoin for a lot of different reasons, right? You're building on Bitcoin because it's going to be the biggest asset in the world one day. It's a $2 trillion asset today. You potentially could be building something that's going to be here forever. If all these other chains go away or they die, Bitcoin, is going to be here. So there's a lot of reasons to build here, but then there's a really lot of reasons why not to build here. How do you feel right now about Radfi? Do you still think you made a good decision to build here?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I've never been more confident in the decision, honestly. Like, if anything, like what we saw last night is just more validation that on the idea, on building on Bitcoin, on the fact that like there is some type of attraction to come to Bitcoin, trade on Bitcoin. I definitely still feel very confident in our long-term vision of like accomplishing Bitcoin layer 1 DeFi and delivering an experience that users enjoy.
100%.
I'm curious if you have maybe a suggestion for some of the users that did run into that 250 transaction limit issue. Like what could they do to continually, like, I guess, be competitive in trading on Radfi if they run into that situation?
I mean, all you can do at that point, if you run into that situation, is make sure your VPN is off. I guess is definitely one thing that is like you're going to get much faster quote updates if they don't have to go through a VPN provider first. So it's really about having like your fastest possible connection to our quote service, and then confirming the quotes as they come. That I think is like the number one thing that you can do, and just kind of waiting for Bitcoin blocks to be mined and going from there.
Yeah. Oh, you're in.
Well, you got.
I was wondering if you could give me some financial advice. Is the bottom in for notes there? No, I'm just kidding.
But
it's a fun looking chart. It's definitely fun. It looks like it. I don't know. To me, this looks like it has bottomed a little bit here. So we do know we got the pizza one coming. Do you have any info on that? Is that going to be this weekend?
I'm gonna leave that up to Trevor and the Pizza Ninjas team to share. Just waiting to speak with them. And happy to support, whatever they decide.
Yeah, I want
Yeah,
to say one thing
100%.
about that chart, though. If you remember the Dutch auction from the launch in 2024, people
Yeah.
were flooding it before the Dutch auction, and they flooded it right after it. It went up a bit for the floor price, and then it crashed, and then that's whenever it started the parabolic run up. So, I actually, personally, not financial advice to anybody listening in, I think this is an opportunity, but that's just me.
So Yagobi's telling me to buy. All right, I got it.
Not
Locking it
saying
in. If I'm wrong, I'm coming for it now. I'm just kidding. But so this is what you mean about. So over here, I got the two wallets, right? So this is
Yep.
my main wallet. This is my wallet. But this right here is the trading wallet. So
Right.
this is the one I have a key. You guys have a key, and that way, everything can happen. So once I sign, it's automatically it just goes right.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
Okay.
that trading wallet, you have one key to that. That's where you need to deposit Bitcoin there, deposit your runes. That's where kind of all the trading happens. And that's what kind of enables us to deliver this type of experience.
Gotcha. And just so anyone knows, because I actually had this question, I can deposit here from an exchange or anywhere. It doesn't matter. I don't have to go
You
directly to my
can.
wallet first.
One thing,
Okay.
this is super random, but we've had a handful of support tickets with this. Like, as you guys may be aware, there's like a ton of kind of like crap inscriptions and runes floating around that were like airdropped to exchanges, or maybe people, deposited them to exchanges. And like every once in a while, actually got one last night. Somebody withdrew Bitcoin from an exchange directly to their trading wallet, and it actually had runes on it. So our app won't let you spend it, right? Because we're not going to like let you destroy runes. We're not going to say like, oh, this rune is is worthless, so we'll let you burn that one, but we won't let you burn, Node Strategy or Rad, right? Like, we don't make those decisions. So if you deposit, like, let's say you withdraw 1 Bitcoin from an exchange and it has a rune on that UTXO, it'll hit your portfolio page and you'll have 0 Bitcoin and 100 random runes or whatever. So that is something to watch out for. You don't lose your Bitcoin. Everything's fine. You just have to withdraw the runes. Like, you just withdraw your full balance, and then the change, the Bitcoin, that'll kind of like strip away the runes UTXO from that larger Bitcoin UTXO, and then the Bitcoin will be spendable. So again, quirks, bro, right? Like that, figuring that out. That was like a day of engineering resources or whatever, or not engineering resources, my time trying to talk to our engineers and be like, why isn't this user's balance displaying? Like, I see it has 4 block confirmations, like, what's going on? And you just don't have to deal with that anywhere else, and now this is like a known issue for people. So anyone else who builds this platform can learn from us and say like, okay, like, if this happens, this is what you need to do.
Gotcha. I'm glad we got into that, because that was something I was thinking. I was like, do I need to just kind of send it right from the exchange?
Yeah, I mean, I still think
buy
that's like the faster route,
That's what I was thinking. Instead of going
just
with
know
2
that
blocks.
if you end up with some random rune that you didn't buy and it's in your wallet, but your Bitcoin is not, just withdraw the runes or transfer them elsewhere, and the Bitcoin will be there.
Gotcha. I was thinking so let's just say I want to send Yagobi some notes there. Can I send from my trading wallet to his trading wallet?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we added that feature like I don't know, a week or 2 ago.
How do I go about doing that? Just so if anyone needs to know,
Yeah,
go
go
to
to
my portfolio
and go to
find the
withdraw.
rune.
See, I think like we do need to improve the UX there, but change address. So it's under the withdraw section. You click change address. You can put in anything there.
Gotcha. Okay. I totally missed that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of small. That's the thing. And it's under the withdraw tab. So somebody who's looking for a transfer option isn't going to find it. I thought about, changing the word withdraw to transfer, but then somebody who's looking for withdraw won't be able to find it, and that's kind of a scary moment. You are always like looking for the withdraw button when you're trying out something new, at least for me. Like when I'm using a new app, like, and I was using like Hyperliquid or Aster and I couldn't figure out how to withdraw. I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? So, you want to give affordance to the withdraw button. But anyway, that's something we'll think about.
Yeah, that's one thing about deposit and withdrawal. It's just kind of like, for you guys aren't an L2, right? So it's just like, but you guys have to structure your wording to people to make them feel comfortable of how to use your product, right? Is that a struggle?
It is. Yeah, it is. Like trying to like think about the best way to explain stuff. I mean, price shift tolerance, that's a tough one. The tooltip on that is like a paragraph long, and like nobody reads it. So, everyone's like, I set slippage to 100%. Why isn't this working? And it's like, I put a tooltip, bro. Why didn't you read it? But that's kind of the nature of the game,
I wonder how much went into the equation of Node Strategy selecting you guys to be the service provider. How much of you guys being on L1 went into that? Do you have any idea?
I think that might be, essentially the entire thing is the fact that we were, we're L1, we were willing to work with, like interested in working with them, right? Like saying, hey, like we'll build this and that feature so that way you guys can launch the product or launch the project that you want to launch. So I think it was like being on L1, good, business development kind of relationship management stuff, being responsive and communicative. But yeah, I mean, would love to actually hear from them as well and hear what they have to say. Hopefully good things.
Well, you got a follow up too. I mean, with Pizza Ninjas too, right after that, right? So that has to be, a part of the equation, in my opinion, of why they want to use Radfi. Obviously, having a solid team that is dependable is a big part of it. So, are your expectations to get more of the kind of pre-sale type strategy, or you're just like no expectations? We're just like full throttle, like building and supporting.
A little bit of both. I mean, we do want to add more features to make it easier to like launch directly on our platform. So you don't have to, if you want to run a strategy, you don't need your own website. You don't need people to just manually transfer you Bitcoin. You don't need to map their addresses to Radfi addresses. Like just kind of simplifying that piece of it and allowing it to launch through our own auction mechanism is kind of what we want to do. Like our own virtual mint should be the way that people launch anything on Bitcoin. That's, where our head has been at from the start. So
I love that.
Yeah, me too. Would you guys be interested in like doing it for someone? Like, let's just say that this, the fees for this go to buying bitmaps. Would you guys be open to treasury in that? I think a lot of people would, actually get into stuff like that if they knew that Radfi itself would be treasury in it.
I asked them that earlier. They're not interested in that, right?
Well,
they're not interested in doing themselves, but would you be interested in maybe just custodying the assets for
custodying them? Well, I mean, I know that LIFO FIFO is working on like a good multi-sig setup. So maybe that's something that someone could partner with him on. And we're also like, working with him to keep that secure, as like a good, more like productized multi-sig setup. So that maybe would make the most sense to contact LIFO.
Yeah, I was just thinking because the fees aspect of it, you guys could get,
I mean, it's obviously beneficial for us to the more strategies, the more things that launch on our platform, the better. The more successful. Every project that launches on Radfi, I want to be successful, right? We get like one banger, and that's huge for us.
100%. We do have a question from the audience here. Stan, a longtime community member of ours. This question is a little bit more about kind of the Bitcoin ecosystem, but regarding kind of the builders and stuff. So he says, why has Michael Saylor been reluctant on jumping on board for projects like Radfi, and could Radfi change Saylor's view? So maybe reluctant on like this type of builder ecosystem. Do you think you guys can kind of change the perspective on how maxis like Michael Saylor look at what we're doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to pitch Saylor, unfortunately. So, so hopefully I'll catch him at the next conference and change his opinion. But I mean, ultimately, I think like, if I was in Saylor's shoes, like your whole narrative is just like, buy Bitcoin and, like just keeping that like very clean from his perspective, I think makes a lot of sense. I don't know if like he personally or his team has like dug into, what else is possible on Bitcoin, like, stable coins and trading and things like that. But I think for, from his perspective, it's probably just much more, about communicating and, having like a very clear, simple message for, Wall Street to understand. He like very much needs to like cater to Wall Street, not crypto degens. And he needs to pitch something that they understand. And I think that's digital gold. So I think he's doing, important work like in his sector, which is making sure Wall Street understands that Bitcoin is digital gold.
Yeah, but that's it, right? He doesn't custody his own Bitcoin. He's not going on chain. He probably has never doesn't even have a Bitcoin wallet, right? So it's one of those things where he's treating Bitcoin like a stock. Like that's all he cares about. He's doing his job.
He's treating it like like a gold ETF essentially.
Exactly. Well, this has been absolutely amazing, Scott, man. Really, really appreciate your time. But would love to give you, if there's anything you would just like to say to the community out there, you can go as long as you want, man. If there's anything that you want to get off your chest, now's the time.
All right, man. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I would say that follow Radfi, of course. Follow me on Twitter at Radfi_BTC. We'll be posting updates on how we continue to improve our technology. Building on Bitcoin is hard, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. We're going to continue building, continue iterating, and continue improving Radfi. So for those that stick with us on the journey, really excited about are really grateful for our early community and our supporters, and looking forward to continuing to improve our tech.
Awesome.
All right, fellas.
All right. Yep. Appreciate your
next time.
time. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're excited for the future of you guys, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Take it easy, fellas.
Bye.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. All right. Absolutely amazing. So let's kind of recap that a little bit. So obviously, the No Monkeys team reached out to them. They got everything ready for them. They're very excited to do that. Everything. So the airdrop wasn't on Radfi. That was actually on the No Monkeys team. I want to clarify that. And then last night's happenings wasn't anything manipulative from the team. So all that stuff, we can throw all that out the window. Is just you're dealing with Bitcoin tech and 250 transactions per block and all that fun stuff there. So I just wanted to clear up all that stuff. But what you think?
Yeah, look, they've pushed the envelope, and I think that I don't know what other teams have, like how far or the extent that they've gone to. Did they hit a brick wall on every idea or whatever? But it seems like they don't want to take kind of no for an answer here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whenever they ran into like it's so too slow on Bitcoin, their dev team said, "Hey, let's use this multi-sig approach." Okay, so they solved this. They've gotten it to this point, which to be fair, it's probably the best. It is the best experience outside of just full custodying stuff like what DotSwap has done. Obviously, Nexus is something different. They have decentralized that, it seems. And so I expect them to continually do that, like brainstorm. How can we make this experience better? So he says he already has a solution for the 250 max limit transaction per block, and then that should help the consistent crazy amount of quotes that come out. If you're not getting there on time. But the fact that you can't do slippage on Bitcoin layer 1, but he has that other option. See, so they're a team that thinks outside the box. I love that. And so I'm curious as what Radfi is going to look like here in like 2-3 months, right? Obviously he doesn't want to do the upgrades right now because there's the Pizza Ninjas token launch as well, and expectation and some of the volume has really increased over there, right? So I like teams like that, and obviously we've had Scott on our show multiple times, and I'll tell you, man, like there's something about Bitcoin builders. People might ask, why are they building here? Why do they just? But they're resilient, and they are building for. Obviously, there's an opportunity, but also a lot of them have passion, and they want to continually try to push the space forward. And so I really appreciate builders in this space.
Yeah, I mean it's really risky to build here too, because most builders in Bitcoin have failed. But if you can succeed, if you can push the envelope like you said, and really become something that you can't live without anymore, and that's kind of what Radfi has become, especially with a lot of these strategies that are playing out. I mean, he could honestly be one of the most successful builders in Bitcoin, besides going along with like Casey, if this works out right on L1. So that's absolutely huge. And one big takeaway I got from this is Bitcoin will never be fast. So slow-fi is what we're going to have to deal with, right? Bitcoin, like you can only do 250 transactions per thing. We're going to have problems with slippage. We're going to have this issue. There's a reason why there isn't a million builders here. All right, so we have to understand that. We have to just kind of chalk it up and say this is the experience I got to deal with. This is the best experience that I'm going to have to be dealing with. So
I'm not so sure if I agree with that whole statement, because he says that he has a solution for the 250 transaction max limitation. Whether that's a unique approach to it, however they do it, but if he says he has a solution to it, I'd like to wait and see what that looks like. Because if they can make it, yes, from the standpoint of this is a fact for a Bitcoin block, but he can go around that to make the user experience better, is what I think we got to look at. Because I'll say a lot of builders, I don't hear the stuff that I'm hearing from Scott about like trying to go around it. We have an idea for this. We did, we were banging our heads against our desks and we came up with this type of solution. So that's why.
Yeah, but I'm not going off
that.
future stuff that we don't know is possible. Like we don't know that's possible, right? Like he has an idea, but many people have ideas on Bitcoin that just weren't possible. So I'm a wait and see type of guy. I'm not going to say that he solved the problem just because it's an idea. I mean, I do appreciate that they have a potential solution, but it's one of those things where I'm just kind of going off what we have today.
Yeah. So I think the more that a builder proves a little bit, the more like you kind of trust in that, right? And so that's what I feel like he's done with that multi-sig tech approach, because no one's had that type of, you could say slow on Bitcoin and stuff like that, but there's a lot of what Radfi does that is way faster than trading on other platforms on Bitcoin. Obviously, an aggregator like Sats Terminal, they are crushing it, right? Because they have a great tech team as well. But yeah, I do get your perspective as well. That is something that I think has been kind of embedded in our brain, especially in this space that we've covered for about 2 years. Is kind of like, okay, don't tell me anymore. I need you to
many
show
ideas.
Me.
2% have worked. Scott, has obviously been somebody who succeeded. But again, when we hear stuff about ideas, it's hard to, especially in the Bitcoin ecosystem, to say, okay, that's going to work. So for me, it was something we're going to have to deal with potentially for a little while. He said it's going to take him a while to fix, to implement it, even if it is possible, right? So it's one of those things where, but I'm just talking about right now, and at least for the next like month or the rest of this year, we're going to have to deal with this aspect of, you can't expect Bitcoin to be Solana, right? Don't expect it to be Ethereum. It is Bitcoin. There's a reason why you're trading here, but yeah, man. Let's jump into some other stuff here. So, speaking of like kind of speeding up Bitcoin tokens, Xverse, they have this really cool thing now. I don't know if you've seen it yesterday. The Home of BitcoinFi Ready for claim season on Spark. Xverse now shows you all claimable Spark airdrops directly in your wallet. So this is kind of what I've been hearing from the Spark team, is they're going to be airdropping tons of stuff to people who have bridged there. So if you have bridged to a Spark wallet, you're potentially going to get some of these claims, but they're not going to be airdrop. How do you feel about that? Like, they're not saying airdrop season; they're calling it claim season. But this could be pretty big for anyone who
I'm okay with it.
Building one. Yeah. Well, do you think
I'm okay to claim.
How do you think it's going to work though? Like a lot of these tokens are going to be obviously meme coins. I guess they're going to take portions of the supply and kind of airdrop them to, or claim them for people. How do you think it's going to work? Let me actually get the image.
Well, I think that it's going to work similarly to Magic Eden and Pizza from Uniswap, right? So you had to go and claim those, but so you got to do a little work probably, but not too much. Just to make sure that all your ducks are in a row to be ready to claim it. But I'm okay with that, right? Because if I'm going to be getting assets given to me that have monetary value, I'll do that.
Yeah, but like, do you think they're going to have any value? Like, I just don't see how just doing a simple claim to everybody is going to actually give those tokens actual value.
I mean, they'll probably set up liquidity pools right away, so they will have value. I think it'd be pretty dumb to do airdrops without liquidity pools, because then you're right. That's going to be hard to create the demand, except for a bunch of people hold them, and then they're going to have to try to get people to get hype about them, right? So I imagine that especially the bigger airdrops, they're probably going to have liquidity pools ready for them, I imagine. But I'm speculating completely on this because I'm just kind of learning about them doing this, and who's going to be doing it too. Is it going to be like builders in the space? And I'm curious about this.
Yeah, let me just run through it. I meant to do it, but I freaking lost it. I have it now. Ready for a claim season on Spark. Xverse now shows all claimable Spark airdrops directly in your wallet. Whenever there's a token to claim, you'll see a shiny claim tag next to it. So you'll see it pop up in your wallet, and then you can just claim it. They say basically says, why is there a claim button? Well, your Spark wallet has two addresses, a default address for your main balance and a secondary address, hidden address. The claim button simply moves tokens from your secondary address to your default one, consolidating your assets into one place. Why are there two different addresses in the first place? Secondary address is derived from the Taproot address, the one starting in BC1P. This allows projects to see your holdings, Ordinals, Runes, BRC20s, and airdrop new tokens directly to this address. Okay, so they're going to be able to see that if you have an Ordinal in your Bitcoin address and potentially airdrop your Spark address. So that's why you have two addresses. How do I claim my tokens? Look for the claim tag next to the token in your wallet. Select the token, the prompts complete process. And there's like a little video of how to do it and stuff like this. How can I see claimable tokens? All claimable tokens will show on your dashboard by default. Xverse is not affiliated with any of the collections or projects. Do your own research. So they're basically saying, hey, anyone can do this. Anyone can do a claim now officially to your Bitcoin address, and you'll see it in your Spark address. So now you're going to be able to do airdrops to puppet holders. You'll do an airdrop to node monkey holders, and everything will be claimable in your Spark address. I love this, by the way.
I love the fact that Spark is like wanting to connect ordinals and runes and all these, the Bitcoin ecosystem holders and stuff with what they're doing. To me, that's bullish because they're very open to being able to bridge assets in and stuff like that, right? We already know that Sats Terminals has the runes bridge for Bitcoin to Spark, right? So, yeah, this is exciting. We might see that airdrop season coming again soon, but how many people still have a bunch of ordinals? We're gonna find out.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone, right? Because it's not like you can settle them into a liquidity pool, right? It has to be an owner somewhere.
Well,
So somebody's
yeah.
going to be very happy to wake up one day with potential ordinal tokens. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But like, if you were going to airdrop a token, I mean, I would airdrop it to the top, top couple collections, right? Because those guys are holders. But at the same time, we saw a lot of cheating happening in 2024 when it came to that stuff, right? Like right away. So
yeah, the airdrops, the Runestone airdrop was interesting because I felt like it was like 25% kind of cheated quickly, and then there was a hold period, and then the rest 50% probably just held till today, maybe lower than that, but
yeah. And then there was a group of people who just bolt them all up, right? There's some people had like 500-600 by the time of the airdrop happened.
That was smart.
Yeah, it was genius. All right, so Binance Wallet has launched its exclusive Meme Rush platform, open to non-custodial wallets users easily discover and join meme tokens. In collaboration with For Meme, it uses bonding curve model for fair, transparent launches and features real-time performance rankings. Verified users can gain early access. Top projects may list Binance Alpha and trade and earn. So Binance Wallet is creating their own version of For, right? But it's going to be using the For backend. Do you think this is going to get be used a lot right through the Binance Wallet? I don't know, man. This seems really, really interesting. We haven't seen something like this yet.
I don't know. It depends on how. Yeah, I just don't know if you can have the edge that you need. Probably not by the really people that make a lot of profit from meme coin launchpads. They're gonna have their computer and tools and stuff that they use. This maybe people that like to gamble a bit will utilize this, but yeah,
I mean, bringing it in the wallet though,
yeah,
I mean? That's the big thing.
Yeah, but bringing it in the wallet is not like, I don't think that people that use like stuff like Axiom or whatever is comparable on BNB, like these sniper bot type of, a lot of them use Telegram. Actually, and they snipe through Telegram. A lot of the Eastern communities, right? So I think this is for regular people. You know what I mean? Like people that might be newer to the space, or people that they can onboard from the centralized exchange. But that's where it can get kind of dangerous, right? Because if they have this on the centralized exchange side of things too, then it's basically just like an online casino for the entire world that uses Binance.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because it's like, we look at these launch pads now, it's just like they're just gambling now. It's no longer like fun to participate in things anymore because it's just like it's complete gambling. It's like you can't win
Well,
anymore. Long-term
it's
holding.
also like they don't understand the game gambling, right? So
Yeah.
it's like they're like, oh, I like this one because there's a cute picture on
Yeah.
it. I just lost all my money. You know what I mean? So I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
I don't know if that product should be released to like the general public, man.
Yeah. Unless we get into more bullish times for sure. All right, let's So the world's largest crypto prediction market, Polymarket, has now allows users to deposit Bitcoin directly. So now you can just go there, get a Bitcoin address, and send Bitcoin to your Polymarket address. Do you think this is going to be used? Because potentially you can now do it. I don't know. Do you need a KYC to sign in for this, or can I sign in with my MetaMask? I never actually even tried.
I thought there was I thought KIC was mandatory. I thought that's
Yeah.
a part of it, but Privy is something that they use, right? So maybe you just sign up with, I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, so you'll have a wallet inside, and then you need to sign up with your email and everything. So I don't know, but sending Bitcoin now, I mean that's a lot easier than prior. But yeah, and then on top of that, with Polymarket is Polymarket dropping a token. So the CEO actually came out and he listed his top 4 tokens, and his top 4 tokens were Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, Solana, and then he added one, Poly, with this little face here. Do you think he's hinting at a possible token here? Will Polymarket kind of not go the ICO route that we were kind of talking about this week, and actually go the this route of actually airdropping a token?
Yeah, they could. I don't know if they. I guess why wouldn't they do it on Polymarket? If you look at the Polymarket activity, it's just not a huge amount, right? But I mean,
Polygon.
oh, sorry, Polygon activity. It's not a huge amount. It doesn't seem that way, but I mean, you have Polymarket. They use Polygon's chain. Yeah, maybe he's trying to hint at that. So
Yeah, I mean, do you think they should? Do you think they should go the token route, or think they should go? I still think they should go the ICO route but like, I mean, maybe this is the new way. Maybe this is what they want to do. Maybe they don't want to go the ICO route. But when you raise $2 billion, like, I don't know.
They're probably getting pushed in one way or the other. You know, if you have $2 billion worth of investment, they're going to want to talk to you and kind of be able to influence things, right? At some point, they'll be like, okay, you built this amazing but what are you thinking about with going public? Or, do you need a coin? So sure that they're talking to all types of like advisors about this.
Yeah. And then, potentially, if they did have a coin, the utility could be you can take
Rewards.
the bets in the coin, right? Well, and the rewards, but you can take the bets in the coin too, right? Let's just say I could bet, 10,000 Poly, on, if who's going to win the next election. So, instead of using USDC, maybe they just put it all in Poly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could do that. But also these type of platforms, they usually have like a good user reward system, you know what I mean, or something. And so I imagine that, that they would do that maybe. But maybe they're not trying to go that route, because like all the sports books, the biggest ones, like you have rewards that you earn on, like, every time you place a bet, you earn a certain amount of points. So this could roll into that easily, and they could still go public too, though, actually.
Yeah.
So
can you though? Can you go public and have a coin?
I mean, I think so. If Coinbase has to, getting pushed to have their coin.
They're separating the business and then the chain. The chain will be decentralized. The business will be centralized.
Yeah,
Polymarket, you can't really do that.
I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah.
With this new way of regulating our space, if that's going to be allowed.
Yeah, and then we did find out yesterday you were going to have 2 years to pass the Howey test, so it's not like they have to rush to get this token to have utility right away, and they can have some leeway there. But I mean, if you're able to use it to, take the bets or take the predictions, I mean that could be enough utility to pass the Howey test. So I don't know. I thought it was really interesting. And then, it says up here, Shane Copeland is the youngest self-made billionaire, according to Forbes here. So, or by Bloomberg. But yeah, so this dude, Shane, he's gonna they're gonna make a movie about this dude. I think he's very, very interesting character for sure.
Yeah, his story is crazy.
Yeah, man. What else do I have here? Okay, so IBIT is number one in weekly flows among all ETFs with 3.5 billion, is 10% of all net inflows into ETFs. So the IBIT, the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, is 10% of all ETFs. Also notable is the rest of the 11 OG spot Bitcoin ETFs. So they're right there, right competing with them. So the top like 20% of ETFs traded is Bitcoin. Isn't that crazy to think about? Like ETFs have been something around since like the early 90s. And the fact that Bitcoin is 10%, well, BlackRock Bitcoin is 10% of all the volume in ETFs is pretty wild. I mean, Bitcoin should be like 200K, like honestly.
Yeah, it should be, but you got to remember, like we mentioned before, if Bitcoin, if the institutions didn't come in and if they didn't get the ETF, then it could be like struggling, with the rest of the crypto market, as we're in this weird kind of safety type of asset grab situation. So I think maybe it is kind of where it should be with the institutional support, and they take profit, right? So they diversify. So, they're in gold and other things as well. So, but it has been boasted about, how the Bitcoin ETF is really taken, the spotlight in the ETF industry, right? And so I think that's a bullish sign for what's to come for Bitcoin, right? And also just there's so many attributes and characteristics of Bitcoin that is attractive to these guys. I think supply shock is one of them. The fact that there's only 21 million and one nation, they're probably thinking about nation states trying to, have a treasury of Bitcoin. And then also the borrowing and lending really hasn't gotten like huge yet, not huge, right? Institutions are getting interested in it for sure. But that industry in itself could be the largest industry in Bitcoin in general. Like once that becomes huge, and you have to remember that's whenever it's so rare to have a full Bitcoin or multiple Bitcoin, and imagine what that industry is going to look like whenever you can borrow and lend against it, right? And so
I'm pretty sure you can already do that in most places.
You can borrow and lend against it, but I'm just saying like, once that becomes like a popular thing industry, so you're talking about revenues jumping up drastically in just that specific revenue. So teams like Sats Terminal, teams like Merlin and Babylon and stuff like that have already started to say, hey, look, this is important. I know it's not getting a ton of attention right now, but this in the future, in 5-10 years, BTC-Fi, whether that's staking or earning or borrowing against, is going to be huge, and the early adopters of that could really get paid out nice.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Hopefully it's not the bankers though. We don't want want the bankers to win, because that's kind of where you're probably going to see majority of the borrowing and lending happening through the banks and stuff like that, using ETFs and stuff like that. But we'll see. But let's that's our show. We got a couple more comments here. Zapresi, it's been a while, man. I haven't seen you in the chat in a while. He said Pizza Pet's airdrop going to be low. I don't know. Probably. I can't imagine. Pizza Pets are really cheap. Well, I guess not. The ones that are still alive.
Are they? Let's see what their floor price is. But yeah, I imagine they would probably be on the last tier of that. Yeah, so they're like 0.00004.
Okay.
So that's the floor price of them right now.
So he says, why did bitmaps pump? Good question. I have no idea. I have no idea why bitmaps went to, what are they at now price wise? They are at $19. These things were like $8 last week. Any idea why bitmap pumped?
I think maybe they said it's our turn, right? Like everybody else is pumping at that point. All the major ones. I don't know. There wasn't anything on my timeline that I saw that created this just magical pump for Bitmap. I felt like it just kind of started pumping with some of these other ones. By the way, there's a couple others too, like OMB kind of saw a rise up as well. And but if Scott does create that easy to kind of raise there, I think that would be huge. And Bitmap needs one, and some of these other collections could do that, right? So because it doesn't matter how much you raise, you can start with anything, because some of these collections have floors that are $10, $30. You know what I mean? So if you raise 20 grand, if you do that correctly, you could sweep up a good amount of those and hold them in treasury. And then once the entire ordinals market starts to thrive, that collection could go up, and then you make profit, and you start to, that flywheel could start right away too, because it's a 10% within the trading too. So I think the raise plus 10% is going to be interesting to see how it works. In my opinion, don't judge no strategy yet. It just literally went live last night. You know what I mean? Let's give it some time.
What is it now? It's sitting at around 4.1. Damn. This thing's got beaten up though. I get what you're saying, but woof, down to 3.2 sats. So yeah, but yeah, I mean 100% I agree. Seth says something about no supply left for Bitmap. I mean, no, there's a new one every block. I said that reminded me I wanted to look into Bitmap today, says Seth, and then Seth says someone I follow on X made an interesting post about Bitmap yesterday. I think Bitoshi actually said something about Bitmaps too. Now I'm thinking about it.
The Bitmap community is big let's say at their peak, right? They're big and strong, but a proper strategy for it could raise a good amount if there's that community revives, right? So if someone does it on Radfi whenever that's set up, I think that could really get things going. But you have to remember there's a lot of supply on Merlin. There's the supply that exists on layer 1, and then like you said, every block issues one, right? So it's kind of like, and then there's different areas this could go into as well. You got the rare sats too, so people could really start to utilize this flywheel. If it works, we need to see some success from Node, Strategy, and Pizza Ninjas first.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't really think the Bitmap community is strong. I mean, not they used to be, right, at one point, but you go into these Bitmap chats, there's like 12 or 13 people in them. They used to get like 30, 40, sometimes 70 into them. So, it's a very small community now. They're very tight though. You do have, your Mr. Sheedy and stuff like that. But I mean, it's definitely fallen off a cliff. I mean, everything has though. So
yeah, exactly.
Not just saying but
that was a point I was going to make, is that there was a lot of people that left. But I do feel like certain communities like Bitmap could get revived. And, if you do have those cores and they are part of this and they showed support. One thing for sure, if the Bitmap strategy does exist, and if you're listening and you're part of the Bitmap, the rare stats Dom, I just talked about rare stats again. But dude, he gets a notification. That's so crazy, right?
I'm telling you, he listens, and when as we mentioned rare stats, he comes in. So
but going back to the Bitmap community, if there is a Bitmap strategy and the team seems to be legit, you got to rally behind them. Don't be split up, because that was one of the big downfalls of you guys, was that you guys were really splitting and going after certain people in the Bitmap community. But you gotta gang up together. Because look, at one point it was the strongest community in ordinals at one point.
No, there was definitely the puppets during that same time period.
I don't know about that. Like everybody was trying to be a part of everybody was trying to be a part of what Bitmap was building. You had people cross chain coming over, X-Spectre.
They were never building anything.
But they were trying to be a part of it, the conversation. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's my opinion. That's yours.
I still remember the one where you had the guy from
Valley.
Animoca. And Animoca came out, and no, Animoca, the guy was in there. He's like, yeah, we're not building for Bitmap. Like he said it right during we had him on, I think, one of our spaces.
Bitmap tokens.
Like, you got to remember, there is no incentive to build on Bitmap. There's no incentive to build there, right?
Yeah,
because if you're gonna build a metaverse, you're gonna sell land. I mean, look what Limitless did, right? He built he said he was building on Bitmap. He sold land and then routed, right? He left because there's no incentive to build on Bitmap.
yeah.
Like,
So
it's not.
I'm just talking about like the community size and what I saw from it.
I mean, if it's a
That's
meme
what I
coin,
saw.
fine, make it a meme coin, but it's not.
Yeah. But I mean, I think we disagree on that, like that topic, but that's okay. I mean, that's what this show's about, is having different perspectives on it.
Yeah. I just don't think it's possible to build on it. It's just, especially on Bitcoin, it's just not possible to build on it. I mean, we've seen so many people leave. I mean, everyone you mentioned, Bitmap Valley, done. Expectar, they're completely on XRP now. Jeff, we know it. He's just super busy. He doesn't really have the time. That's kind of a passion project for him. He just doesn't have the time anymore to go about doing that. So it's like there is no more builders. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
you just have the community that still kind of hold and talk about it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I believe in the Bitmap community. I think, like I said, I think they were one of the most powerful communities. And you even had Casey and Aaron in their last episode talk about how they first of all, they made fun of every single meta protocol they talked about, but they also said, it was so stupid. It was so stupid. It was elegant with bitmaps. That's how they broke it down.
You saw that as a compliment?
Well, because they both liked it. They both said we like this.
Yeah.
Oh.
I heard it a little different. I just felt like it was just like Casey's all about not hurting Bitcoin. So it's just like it can't hurt it. This is when he was going through all the meta protocols. It was like everything he hated was something that could actually hurt Bitcoin, right? That could create mag.
The way he talked about it, the way he talked about everything, he actually the one that he went nicest on was Radfi, I think, because he was just like, I met those guys and they're nice, but I don't know what he didn't even come prepared. He didn't even come prepared for that video. He didn't even
that's what I'm saying. It's like we're sitting here saying Casey likes it. Casey spent 9 minutes with every one of those topics.
But he knows what Bitmap is. I mean, it's very straightforward of what it is.
I mean, it's just numbers.bitmap at the end of the day. So it's a meme basically. But that's our show, guys. Appreciate every single one of you guys, man. Huge turnout today. 496 people on X, 21 on YouTube, 145 on Twitch, not to mention everyone on Kick, Abstract, and Rumble, and Spotify later. Appreciate every single one of you guys.
Absolutely. Without you guys, we couldn't do this. We're so thankful. It's crazy. We're in October. I do think this last quarter is going to be there's going to be some energy, and I'm hoping and thinking that we're going to have a good run up here to finish the year. But it's been up and down, and we understand that. But you guys still support us, and we're very appreciative. Without you guys, we couldn't do this. But also without our partners, we couldn't do it. So we would greatly appreciate if you check them out. Sats Terminal is the DEX aggregator swap for the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. You can swap for Bitcoin runes, alkanes, and now Spark tokens. You can do it directly there at Sats Terminal. And that's really vital, in my opinion, for the Spark side, because they're going to be aggregating from all the popular launch pads, the Luminexes, the Magic Edens, the UTXO.funds, and whatever new ones. They have an amazing, quick working dev team that will get that hooked up to their aggregator. So make sure you are learning how to use their swaps. They also have a borrowing and lending product. You can borrow against your Bitcoin. Don't sell it, as Shizzy always says. Borrow against it, so you can let that Bitcoin continually rise up, and then you just pay your stable loan back, right? And you can use the stable loans to get into some of these Bitcoin assets, right? Not financial advice. That's something I'm thinking about doing. But yeah, make sure you check them out at satsterminal.com. And when you use a swap, you earn Amber points, and Amber points are going to go towards a give back for early adopters. So remember that when you're using the swap there. Head over to satsterminal.com today. And then Emblem Vault is the interoperability layer for the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to jump your Bitcoin ordinals to Ethereum, you can actually take your Taproot Wizards over there and take a loan out against your Wizards on the Gandhi application. I'm sure Gandhi's going to open up to other collections as well. In the future, you can take over Rare Pepes. You can take over anything right now to Ethereum. And the Emblem team is going to be opening this up to other environments as well. And Solana is one of those. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in the Solana ecosystem called AgentHustle.ai. Agent Hustle is an AI agent that will guide you through the ecosystem of Solana. And you need that guidance because Solana is not an easy one to trade memes. And so you can ask Hustle, hey, find me a couple solid memes or any tokens on Solana that are, a solid 2, 5x, and he'll bring back some options for you and why he thinks that these are good, solid options. Hustle also has a conditional trading engine built into him, and you can set some buy and sell limit orders and go take care of whatever you need to take care of, and Hustle will take care of that on your behalf. Also, there are subscription levels to Hustle. There is a free version. It's a limited tool set, so you're not going to be able to use all the tools. And then as you go up into the paid options, you get more and more tools, and you get a discount if you use the Hustle token to pay. And the Hustle token is the single token that powers the entire Emblem ecosystem. There's another product within the ecosystem called migrate.fund, which allows you to migrate from one launchpad to the other in the Solana ecosystem, because that liquidity gets stuck in there. And sometimes you just get stagnant in a certain specific launchpad, right? Maybe you launched before Pump Fund added the creator fees. So you need to be a part of their program to help you migrate to the new pools that you get the creator fees, and migrate.fund will help you do that. You can, migrate from Bonk to Pump as well, and Pump to Bonk, it doesn't matter. Or you can just manage your own LPs, and that's, for certain projects like utility projects that need to earn from the trading fees. But go head over to migrate.fund. You can see the first group that was in the first cohort. You can see what their progress was like. Very successful first cohort. And then reach out to the team if you're interested in getting involved in the second cohort. And they'll walk you through the steps of getting that process ready. Head over to migrate.fund to learn more today, and head over to emblem.vision to learn about all the products I just broke down for you guys. And then Artura.finance is the perps and leverage DEX of the Bitcoin ecosystem. This team is grinding to get this platform ready for you guys to make it simple and easy to trade. They do have their trading competition still going on right now. First place gets 5,000 USDC, and then another 5,000 USDC is split amongst the next couple of winners there. And then right now you can trade for Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're going to have some updates, for some big updates. So make sure you're following them at Artura Finance on X. But yeah, and then every Tuesday at 2 p.m., the Trader's Edge. So the next Tuesday, make sure you guys join that. Also, there's a competition tab for that 5,000 USDC for first place. You can see who's in the lead and how much you got to catch up to them, right? So that's the big deal right now over there. Head over to Artura.finance today. And then Merlin Chain, wrapping it up with Merlin. Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin strength through the power of AI. They have their AI product called the Wizard version 2.0. It guides you through the Merlin Chain ecosystem. So you can do DeFi activities on your behalf. It can also do DeFi activities outside of Merlin. Like you can trade for Solana tokens that are hot, or right now, the BNB tokens that were hot and kind of pulling back right now. But the whole idea is all you got to do is have Merlin Chain Bitcoin in your Merlin Chain compatible wallet, and the Wizard can do the swaps for you. Can find data and information as well on other chains for you, like top 10 wallets, that hold fart coin, stuff like that. So make sure you're taking advantage of that, as it is free for users to take advantage of. And then also they have a proof of stake security model that powers their chain. And there's 3 ways for you guys to have exposure to it. The first one is staking Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin. First staking vault earned on average about 17% APR. They're shooting for higher than that is the goal, but you can definitely stake your Bitcoin, earn more Bitcoin. Everybody loves that product. As I mentioned before, a lot of institutional interest as well in that with Merlin. $55 million of investment went into that. So they are definitely rocking and rolling with that. And then there's 2 options for the Merlin Chain token staking. The first one is the flexible option. It's a day-to-day. You earn 15% APR. You can claim your rewards daily and roll those into a compound interest strategy there. And then if you do withdraw, it does take 7 days for a cooldown period there. So just keep that in mind. And then they have their bonded option, which is a 6-month lockup. And this is for the Merlin token. And you get 45% APR for that 6-month lockup period there. Same thing. You can claim your rewards daily, roll those into a compound interest, but of course it is locked up for 6 months. But this team is crushing it consistently. Make sure you head over to merlinchain.io to learn more about them and follow them on X to hear their latest and greatest updates. And we appreciate you guys checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job, man. As always. I did just realize that we didn't do roll call or anything yet. But yeah, it's all good. I'm just gonna call Tim Baker. Tim Baker, I'm gonna add you. Definitely shout out to you, my friend. You were that first comment of today, and Chief Axel, WebDro, Merlin's Lucky. I think I got to everyone else earlier. Bitcoin Truth, Abstract, Vader Time, Chips and Dip, OnePlus at Mirror. I don't know how I missed this. I apologize, guys. We'll make sure we get to hit you guys up tomorrow. But that's our show there. And if you guys wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io, we have some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering the space, please send them our website. It will definitely help them get started and code up to where we are today. Definitely check out article after article. Brand new article just dropped this week. BNB goes vertical. Why Binance Smart Chain is stealing the spotlight from Solana. Check it all out here. Aster versus Hyperliquid, which Bitcoin L2 scaling protocols will dominate. So check them all out here, guys. And if you guys need a VPN to use something like Hyperliquid or MEXC, you guys can use NordVPN. We have a 77% off coupon and an extra 3 months on top of that. You can get basically 27 months, lock it in for $3 for basically it's like $66. So you want to lock that in 2 years, set it, forget it, be done with it. And you guys can use our link here and and you guys can win. Definitely check that out if you're interested. And then if you are interested in merch, we have some of the best merch in all of crypto. Check them all out. Hats, jackets, shirts, much, much more. Everything here at onchainrevolution.io. And remember, guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. Until tomorrow.
Peace.
OnChain Revolution roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go, Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain Revolution.